Yo, what's good everyone? The new Falcon has just dropped, Joaquin Torres. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but let's face it, I'm probably not. But anyway, I'm going to be answering the question, will this guy be good for Battlegrounds? I'll be showcasing his damage, his utility, which matchups he's good for, which matchups he's not good for. I'll be showing you all how he works and his rotation, the whole shebang. We're just going to be answering the question, will this guy be good for Battlegrounds? And please keep in mind, this is a Battlegrounds only review. I'm not taking any other content into consideration when making this. This is purely a review for Battlegrounds. But with all that waffling out the way, let's get started. I can't help but feel a little underwhelmed by this champion. He's definitely not bad. You're seeing there a 43-second fight against Captain Marvel in Realm of Legends. He's definitely got decent damage. But he's got the problem which every other Falcon in this game has. There are just much better options out there, and that doesn't inherently make him a bad champion. But this guy, he only really has the damage and utility to be viable against Mystic champions. He's not good for many defenders outside of the Mystic class, which isn't necessarily a problem as long as he has the utility and damage to shut off, nuke, destroy these Mystic defenders. While he's good against these Mystic defenders, he's far from the best option. Hulk, Titania, Silk, Spider-Ham are all going to be better and faster than him in 99% of circumstances. And these are champions that are good against defenders from other classes as well, not just the Mystic class. So the way I'm seeing it is there's not much reason to rank this guy over other science champions. He was marketed as a Enchantress counter, but he doesn't even counter miss. So Enchantress could just miss you 3 times at the start of the fight, like I showed here, and you lose the match because of it. That's definitely not a hard Enchantress counter. There's definitely better options out there that counter miss. They should have made this guy counter miss, even if it was only against science champions. If you're going to make him an Enchantress counter, make him an Enchantress counter. In fact, the only utility he has for countering Enchantress is the debilitate. And what this debilitate does is it basically ignores one of her spells, but the catch is you can only have a maximum of 2 debilitates, so you can only ignore up to 2 of Enchantress's spells. Once she gets more than that, she's going to start dealing the damage reflect to you, and she's going to get her protection up. So you definitely cannot just ignore the spells with this guy. You saw there we got some big regeneration. That is from Falcon's abilities. So in his kit he has the ability to regenerate 40% of the damage dealt during special attacks that are not critical hits. So any burst damage, any damage over time, any hits that are not critical, he will regenerate 40% of the damage, and you get an extra 10% regeneration for each special the opponent has used in that fight. This is a pretty cool piece of utility that has some niche uses, but overall in most matches it's not too useful. It caps off at a maximum of 70% regeneration during special attacks. Here's another defender it can be good against, Gallon. So if you mess up against Gallon, he goes into Harvest, he's about to kill you. Well, Falcon's got your back. He's going to instantly regenerate most of that Harvest damage. This utility is mainly good for defense, I think. I don't think Falcon is that good of a defender, which I'll get to later in the video. But this could definitely stall a lot of attackers. You could definitely trap some people on defense with him, because champions that deal damage over time or burst damage on their special attacks, they're going to be pretty damn slow against this guy. And now we're going to be showing a couple of Mystic matchups, then I'll show some matchups from other classes like Onslaught, Dust, etc. But first we got a Sassy, and he's actually a really good counter for Sassy. He has pretty much a permanent slow, so when Sassy goes into Wrath, you just ignore that unstoppable, and his damage is pretty strong against Mystic champions. So even though Sassy has the biggest health pool in the game, this is a pretty fast fight. He's really good against these Mystic defenders, but it's a shame that in my opinion he just doesn't have the utility, damage, versatility to handle many defenders outside of the Mystic class. If they made him a hard Enchantress counter, gave him a way to counter her miss, gave him a way to easy intercept to get rid of her spells, that would give him a niche, that would make him the safest and the best Enchantress counter, but they didn't do that. So I just can't think of a good reason to rank this guy up. The only reason I can think of is this guy has really good access to slow. He can pretty much keep his slow debuff active for the entire match, and this meta this season in Battlegrounds is all about unstoppable, so he will probably be pretty good, pretty safe for this meta in Battlegrounds, but most people will not get him the month he comes out. So by the time most people get him, there will be no reason to rank him. His biggest, most useful, best piece of utility in general is just his slow, but many champions have access to slow. To be fair to Falcon though, it's really easy to keep his slow active for the entire match, and you don't have to heavy attack or anything to keep it active. You just inflict your slow when the opponent throws their special attack. But another downside is he's completely dependent on this slow. So if you're fighting a champion that's slow immune, like Destroyer for example, who is in the Mystic class, you're not going to be able to apply your traumas. Well, you're not going to be able to apply your traumas on your basic attacks. So basically this guy is kind of going to suck against slow immune champions and with class disadvantage, because of course you can't apply slow to champions that have class advantage against you. So does this guy need awakening? I would say no, but you do get some nice benefits out of it. You get increased bulwark, which is going to increase your block proficiency, which is always nice, makes him more tanky. You're going to deal a burst of damage whenever your slow stops unstoppable or evade. Your vulnerability is going to pause during your special attacks, and you will inflict a slow at the very start of the fight. So you get a lot of benefits from getting this guy awakened. I wouldn't say he needs it, but I wouldn't rank him unduped myself because I already think he's lacking in certain aspects. But if you're a fan of the champion and you really want to rank him, he is fine unduped. But let me make this clear right now. I'm not calling this champion bad. He's a decent champion. He has his uses. He is good. It's just there are much better options out there, especially in the science class. So I personally cannot see a good reason to rank him. I just don't think you're going to use this guy over the other OP science champions like Titania, Spider-Ham, etc much, unless you need that access to his slow. If that's the case, I'm going to use Silk over this guy a majority of the time though, unless there's a stun immune node and you need slow, then in that case this guy can be the go. Hey, you found your niche, Falcon. You're the best science champion with access to slow on stun immune nodes. They may be few and far between, but hey, you found your niche, bro. Well done. I feel like this is the story of Falcon in MCOC. He's always just not quite good enough. There are always better options than him. I feel kind of bad for Falcon. There's like 3 versions of him and they're all kind of mid. Okay, so let me explain this guy's rotation, how to use him real quick. Now, I'm not going to deep dive into his abilities. I'm just going to tell you all a simplified way into how this guy works. So he has 2 modes. He has his blue mode, which he starts the match in, and his orange mode. His blue mode will inflict slow on the opponent whenever they throw a special attack. His orange mode gives him a chance to inflict traumas on his basic attacks. You switch modes by ending your combo in a medium attack. At the start of the match, you want to switch modes into your orange mode so you can instantly start inflicting traumas on your opponent, but you want to make sure you switch back to your blue mode before your opponent throws a special attack so you can re-inflict that slow. It's important to keep that slow up the entire match because you need that slow up to inflict the traumas on your basic attacks. Falcon has these velocity charges. You gain a charge whenever you inflict the opponent with a debuff that's not trauma. So when you inflict your slow or you parry the opponent, you'll gain a velocity charge. When you reach 10 velocity charges, you will combine your blue and orange mode to become one, and this is when you can start throwing your special 2 to inflict all of your traumas and pause all of your traumas for 6 seconds, and then you can throw your special 1 to get the fury, and then you really start doing some decent damage. So basically, build 10 velocity charges, throw your special 2, then you want to cycle special 1s for that fury. If your traumas start to fall off, you want to throw another special 2. Last part of the video, we're going to be checking how this guy is on defense, and he is not a defender at all. He really isn't good on defense. His special 1 and special 2 are really easy to dodge. You can just outrange them by dashing back. You don't even have to dex anything. He's very easy to fight. The only defensive utility he has is that regeneration, where he's going to regenerate any burst, damage over time, or non-critical hits on your special attacks. Well, up to 70% of it anyway. So if you're using a champion that relies on damage over time, burst damage on their special attacks, they're probably going to be pretty damn slow against Falcon. But in general, I don't think this guy is a good defender. If he had more defensive utility, I would definitely rate him higher as a champion, because then if your opponent doesn't draft a science defender for Falcon to handle, you could slap him on defense, but unfortunately that is not the case, and that just really hurts his viability in my opinion. But that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, I'd appreciate it if you drop a like, subscribe, all of that stuff. See you all next video. Will Kabam ever make a OP version of Falcon? I doubt it.